Hello everybody, hope you're enjoying the second day of the SME Assembly as much as we are here in Brussels. Here on Channel 1 now, I'm going to host an exciting session called Class of 2020, a vision for the future of enterprise, where we'll hear from 3 young Europeans who read their entries in the Commission's 2020 Youth Essay Competition. And then you can vote live on which one you think should be the winner. Christian Schreiber, the chair of the Youth Essay Competition jury, is still with us. Welcome back, Christian. What can we expect from today's essays, do you think?
Well, I think there is no denying that the COVID pandemic has made things all a bit different this time. I have to say this is actually one of my favorite items in the SME Assembly. I think what we can expect is that our young people who are suffering from the crisis, who have the students have not a normal student life at the moment, they're really looking at integrating the wider issues of sustainability into their essays and looking at the sort of impact, on their lives, because currently they are very much impacted by COVID, but they do perfectly well know that in the long run they will be very much impacted by all the challenges in terms of sustainability. So it's really a combination, I would say, which made this year's essays very interesting.
Now, we've heard from our guests over the past few days some, the reality checks about the situation we're in now, but also optimism about embracing the future. So are we going to be presented today with a hopeful vision of the future?
I do think so. Yes, I think they are concentrating on seeing what sort of society, what the economy looks like, what the role of entrepreneurs and SMEs should be, what the role of policymakers are. And I think you could actually say that it's an optimistic outlook, recognizing, of course, all the challenges we are currently facing.
Now, I mentioned earlier that delegates will have an opportunity to also choose the winner. But just tell us a little bit about the judging process.
Yeah, it's actually quite a straightforward process, Shona. I mean, we have a formal eligibility check, of course, plagiarism, and then the jury actually reads and grades the papers, and I'm actually as chair of the jury, so a sort of primus inter pares, and then we go together and select actually the work, and in a way I think it has to be something, which talks to us in terms of essay.
So you choose the finalists, and then our delegates, of course, will choose the absolute winner. So just for everybody watching, the essayists will need your votes today. Now, these young writers all hail from different European countries. So in the essays that you've seen, certainly with the finalists, where does the concept of Europe fit into that?
Yeah, I think that's what makes it so interesting, because they're coming from all different parts of the EU and even participating countries beyond. And what makes it interesting is that, of course, on the one hand, SMEs are very much focused in their local, regional, and national context. So the best essays, I would say, integrate this dimension, also this local dimension, into their essays. But at the same time, they take this whole European view. There is really this sort of need, and you can read it from all the essays, for a greater cohesion at EU level. And I think this interaction, which is inherent, I would say, with SME policy, because you need the European approach, but then things are implemented very much at local, regional level in the relevant ecosystems. I think that's what makes it really interesting, and that's where you get this broad European perspective.
Well, thanks for that, Kristen. Now let's hear from Radu Dumitrescu, who's last year's winner. He has a few words of encouragement for our 2020 finalists.
Hi everyone, I'm Radu and I won the Youth Essay Competition last year. I just wanted to wish you good luck and to give you a final piece of advice for your speech. I think you should tell a joke. It really worked for me.
Thank you very much for that, Radu. Let's hear from our first finalist, Georgina Whiteman.
The COVID-19 pandemic threatens to reverse our success in achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, which are the 17 global goals that we must strive towards for a better, more sustainable future. These backward steps are represented by the substantial damage that COVID has unleashed on the SME landscape and on the prospects of employment for young people across Europe. SMEs account for over 99% of businesses in Europe, and they represent a wide variety of crucial sectors. They have both been heavily exposed to the disruption and are vital to the economic and social recovery. On top of this, the current outcome for youth today in Europe is quite bleak. The pre-pandemic youth unemployment rate sat at 14.9% at the beginning of the year in the EU. It was reported to have risen to 17.6% in August 2020, and is forecasted to rise significantly higher in the economic aftermath. So what connection do these issues have? SMEs are started by people that are either seeking to fill a gap in the market or become their own boss, and subsequently provide themselves with a secure future. Entrepreneurs don't just come from outer space. They are nurtured and developed in the societies that they grow up in, and whether these entrepreneurial skills are gained from work experience or education, they use these to innovate within our society. In the case of social enterprises, they use those skills to provide value within their own community, either by giving back to those more vulnerable or fulfilling a need that isn't currently being met, whilst also striving towards the SDGs. If we believe, as Whitney Houston says, that children are our future, teach them well and let them lead the way, then to combat future challenges and build resilience in our SME ecosystem, EU policy needs to focus on our future generation and training them to become better, more sustainable entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship, and more importantly youth entrepreneurship, is globally acknowledged as being a tool to combat youth unemployment and to narrow the skills gap occurring in many countries. If young people can't find work based on their own skills, they can create their own work and bring their own seat to the table. This suggests that there is a growing need to centre the SDGs in the SME landscape, a growing unemployment crisis hitting youth hardest, and a growing interest from young people to pursue entrepreneurship. So what am I proposing? Investing in the training of our future generation to build sustainable, social enterprises that help a more resilient Europe build back better. Reforming entrepreneurship education in both formal and non-formal education settings by centering sustainability and social enterprise as core objectives for entrepreneurs, rather than these being an afterthought, and aligning existing youth entrepreneurship training with the SDGs and concentrating on social entrepreneurship training. So why is this important? You can push for sustainability in established SMEs, but this is often seen as an unattractive investment due to the lack of short-term returns, which is increasingly important to consider now when cash flows are tight in the post-COVID recovery, and survival and growth will be a higher priority than investing in sustainability. Or you can build sustainability into the youth entrepreneurship agenda, so sustainability is ingrained into our future generation of European entrepreneurs and at the core of their business operations and activities. European policy already sees how important entrepreneurship education, and more importantly, social entrepreneurship education is. In the past 5 years, EU policy has concentrated heavily on youth entrepreneurship, both as a mechanism for diversifying and advancing economic activity, and as a solution for youth unemployment. So how do we do this? EU policy needs to outline and develop a sustainable enterprise framework and a subsequent sustainable entrepreneurship toolkit that not only focuses on elements such as profitability and growth, but also on social impact and alignment and achievement of the SDGs. This will include working with a diverse portfolio of successful social enterprises across Europe to create a toolkit for enterprise educators, and connecting businesses and education providers to shift existing education programmes towards a sustainability-orientated curriculum. And what will this achieve? This framework and toolkit will provide aspiring entrepreneurs across Europe with a set of guidelines on running a sustainable enterprise for social good, centering meaningful impact at the core of their business ethos and aligning with the UN SDGs. This framework and toolkit will not only benefit potential entrepreneurs, but provide current entrepreneurs with a toolkit on how to incorporate sustainability as a core function of the business, in a way which aligns the SDGs to SME business practice. This will also help existing SMEs re-strategise, enabling them to centre the SDGs and sustainability in their business practice, further aiding us to build Europe back better. Thank you very much.
Georgina Whiteman there, our first finalist. Now we'll hear from Pablo Pastor Vidal, our second finalist.
Dear delegates, dear listeners, and everyone that made this assembly possible, and especially to those of you who are still there after the intense meetings and conferences. Now, I want to talk to you about how I think small and medium enterprises in Europe can become more sustainable and resilient, and which policies can help us do that. And for that, here's my proposal. Just 3 simple steps to do that. 1. Think locally. 2. Act globally. And 3. Look into the future. It's really simple. And let me explain it with a very brief example. Imagine that you have a fruit company That means you produce apples, oranges, tomatoes, any kind of vegetable you want. Probably you even have a shop in your city and you buy fruits from other countries. It is clear that COVID has affected you. Well, a year ago, everyone came to your local shop to buy some fresh fruit. Now you have to take a lot of precautions and make sure you still produce the best product despite the increasing costs. Let me tell you, you are in a crisis. That means you are fighting for your survival. But you are not alone. Look around. From the company that transports your apples from the countryside to your local shop, or the restaurant that uses your tomatoes to make their delicious recipes, they are also in the same situation as you. And all of you are looking for resilience. My definition of resilience is to find the strength in our common fragility. And I think that the best way we can do that is by supporting the local communities. Our way to live may change forever because of COVID-19, but at the end of the day, people still need some fresh fruit to eat. That is why our policies should support the needs of ordinary people and help small companies grow. And that, my friends, is to think local. But imagine that you have survived the crisis. Congratulations, now you are resilient. But we have an even bigger problem to face. Someone wants to guess? Well, I'll try. That is climate change. In your fruit company, for example, if you don't have the right temperature for your oranges or your lemons, you cannot produce them. But do not go as far. Think about today. What happens if you want to produce more wasting less? There is a magical word: technology. Technology is, not only according to me, but also to Professor Stiglitz, the way that we humans can offset the limitations imposed by the natural resources. This doesn't mean that we could reverse climate change, don't get me wrong, but it does mean that if we empower enterprises to innovate and to share their knowledge, we can all become more sustainable. Think about your fruit enterprise. For example, you could talk with laboratories and make better fruit, produce more fruit. You could buy from local farmers, or you can even talk to NGOs to give your fruit to other countries where people are in need, they are hungry. And that, my friends, is to act globally. And lastly, I told you to look into the future. And that sounds very abstract, of course, but it's the most human part after we are sustainable and resilient. And looking to the future means to think about new ideas, applying them to different contexts. That means to lose the fear to share my thoughts with other entrepreneurs. It also means to look lightly into the problems of Europe, like inequalities in poorer places, or to demand more help from the public administrations to the small and medium enterprises. Finally, it means to resist together, even in the big problem that COVID is putting in front of us. But do not worry, we are humans, and we have always been able to act, to think, and to look, locally, globally, and into the future. Thank you.
Pablo Pastor Vidal, our second finalist there. And last but not least, Sabine Kersens, our third finalist.
Before soon, the weight of plastic in the ocean will be more than the weight of fish. We need startup and scale-up innovation to help us flatten the climate curve. Now, sooner than later. So, why are startups and scale-ups still fighting this battle one by one? My name is Sabine Kersens, I'm a Dutch system engineer, and I'm here to tell you about my essay on a single startup scale-up market. When it comes to the climate crisis, we've heard it all before. It's big, it's bad, and it's here. We're experiencing an increasing number of broken heat records and climate disasters. But there is room for some good news. Research shows that big countries such as China and India are looking to overachieve on their Paris Climate Agreement pledges. So, where is Europe in all of this? The ambition is there, however, not all of the policies are in place. Europe and the Netherlands rely on technical development to create clean solutions. However, startups and scale-ups are being hit hard by the corona crisis. They're experiencing their runway being reduced to a quarter of its original length. The challenges that startups and scale-ups face normally are being exaggerated. The challenges hit harder and they hit faster after each other in a crisis like this. Finding funding is difficult, but when you can't meet with people in person, this becomes extra difficult. That's why startups and scale-ups have mentioned to have a shortage of 240,000 euros each. More importantly, the talent that gets lost in a crisis like this can't be measured in monetary value. It's risky business to start or to join a startup or scale-up, but the risk averseness that hits the entrepreneurial minds in a crisis like this is unproportional. This threatens our ambition to be innovative, and it threatens to find meaningful work for all. So, what should we do? Well, if the Dutch were once so bold to build a country on top of water, then I believe that the sons and daughters of those entrepreneurs can build a planet that is self-sustaining. However, they can't do it alone. The Dutch ecosystem is a good ecosystem, but it's not even the best in Europe. So imagine that ecosystem in which startups and scale-ups are helped throughout their product pipeline. In that world, the voice of startups can be just as big as that of big corporates. So it's time to take it 1, 2, and 3 steps further. We need to have the initiatives such as Horizon 2020, but improve them. Looking at initiatives such as Tech Leap, such as Le French Tech, Digital Switzerland, where we create an ecosystem of mentoring and being mentored. All of that centralized in one place in Europe, a single startup scale-up market. That market could be a place in which entrepreneurs meet each other and meet innovators, meet investors, meet incubators, where they can be challenged and where they can have events, find funding, find new markets. It could be a place that holds data. It could be a place that brings the European Union closer to innovation. In that way, we can find a place that creates the technology that's going to get us out of the corona crisis and out of the climate crisis. So wouldn't it be great if the next time that we meet in a single startup scale-up market, we don't say, oh, I wish I thought of that, but look at the innovation that we create together. Thank you.
Sabine Kerstens there, our third finalist. Thank you all for your brilliant presentations and essays. Now the time has come to decide who the winner of the 2020 Youth Essay Competition is. And good luck to you all. The names of our finalists are about to appear on your screen now. Please vote for your favourite on the screen. You have to choose one of the 3, or you have to cancel, otherwise the poll will actually stay on your screen forever. We'll give you a couple of minutes to vote, and then we'll count up the scores. And while we're doing that, we'll show you our graphical recording of the presentations. So, without further ado, please vote now. Votes are in, ladies and gentlemen. I'd now like to invite Kristen Schreiber, who's the head of the jury, to reveal who the winner of the 2020 Youth Essay Competition is.
Yes, Shona, the delegates have spoken, and they chose Sabine Kerstens as a winner. So let me be the first one to congratulate her. Well done, Sabine.
Thank you so much. really excited to hear this news. Really excited to help and be part of a single startup scale-up market, and to get in contact to everyone who's just as excited as I am. Especially two of the biggest supporters, Gina and Pablo. Thank you so much for being in this competition with me. I really, really enjoyed it. Bye.
Very many congratulations, Sabine. How does it feel to be the 2020 Youth Essay Competition winner?
Nerve-wracking, but really special. I'm really honored to be part of a competition that's launched with so many people from all over the world, especially listening to my age. That's really, really cool. Overjoyed.
Well, listen, huge congratulations for us and from us here. And hopefully next year when you come to join us, we won't be doing it virtually. We could actually be physically doing the SME Assembly. So that's fantastic. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.